Holistic with Pam. Pam is a cat mom and holistic health seeker who, after suffering an injury that wouldn't heal, was led on a journey to seek out alternative, holistic, and natural medicine. She now shares what she learned, helping people and their cats along their path to holistic health. Pam has taken courses in holistic health for animals, muscle testing, and animal communication. Please welcome Pam back to News for the Soul.
Welcome back to the Perfectly Holistic Radio Show. My name is Pam, and I'm excited to join you guys tonight. We have a very interesting topic for you guys tonight. So, first of all, I wanted to just welcome everyone who is watching, streaming live on our YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook platforms. And also, you are listening at the News for the Soul platform. So, thank you guys for being here. Drop a comment. Let us know where you're watching from. And my guest, Deanna Tsang, is back for another very intriguing conversation. So welcome back, Deanna.
Hello, thank you for having me.
We always have really great talks when we get together.
I was just going to say that.
We could probably finish each other's sentences too.
Absolutely.
So our topic tonight is something that kind of came to me, and I don't remember how long ago, a few weeks ago when I reached out to you and I said, can you talk about this, like what's the spiritual meaning behind the illnesses that we get and our pets get, but primarily like for the pet parent, because I know that so many people struggle with special illnesses, diseases, conditions, things like that. And we know how much that can influence the pets. But I thought, gosh, there's got to be a spiritual connection somehow or significance. It's got to reflect something, and I thought you would be the perfect person to help us break all that down tonight. So where should we start?
Oh my gosh, there's so much. I mean, it's pretty straightforward once we start talking about it, but I feel like it can go in different directions. I think it all comes down to manifesting, actually, because we create everything with our thoughts, emotions, feelings, words, actions, behavior, how we react to things and what we focus on. And we're all so we're creating everything, including our health, because as we're going through life, we're just trying to do our very best, but we all are going through hardships and trauma and toxic relationships or, with certain people, and trauma or depression or anxiety. And, it goes on and on. And it's basically all of that stuff builds up over time. And it accumulates in our bodies. But all of those kind of get stored in our bodies, like the emotions and the feelings, all the negative, toxic ones. And depending on where it gets stored, it kind of tells us what the root cause is. So the spiritual root cause.
Yes.
Because if someone, maybe their knee hurts, right? Or I could use my own story as an example, but if, your knee or your hip or your foot or ankle, shins, if something is preventing you from walking or moving forward, it's literally, there's something in you that is preventing you from moving forward with something in your life. So it's reflecting some inner state of mind, and it's being expressed externally. And spiritually, they're kind of like messages. We'll say from the universe, or your spirit guides, or maybe your higher self, because we can't hear them helping us. If you believe in angels and higher beings.
Yes.
And so it's almost like they use our bodies as a messenger service.
Like a conduit.
Yes, to deliver messages and show us what's happening in our lives so that we can make changes for the better and just become, just learn, grow, and evolve into better human beings and souls.
Yes. So is there a technical term for this?
No, for people who help others, I guess, analyze it or help the universe deliver the messages, they're, I think, called medical intuitives.
Okay.
So these things like started coming to me when I first did Reiki. So I do different types of energy healing, but initially I would get things would just pop into my head about why someone had a physical issue, whether it was pain or an illness and different symptoms, or disease, any types of diseases. And I would kind of relay what popped into my head to my clients, and they would verify that, yes, something like that was going on in their lives, or they had just gotten past some situation, or they were in the middle of it right now. And so then I realized it's like a real thing. And again, depending on what part of the body you have issues with, or the disease or illness, I can tell them maybe what's causing it. Like I kind of work with people to help figure out what's causing it spiritually and internally, like mentally and emotionally, and then kind of how to undo it and reverse the disease or eliminate the pain or reduce it. And then once we get to the root cause and figure out what they need to change, then it can go away, usually a percentage, but there's still that negative energy that's stored in their bodies. So I have to flush that out energetically. And then it should go away, and then it shouldn't come back. But if we haven't flushed everything out energetically, or we haven't gotten to all of the root causes emotionally and mentally, it may only reduce or improve the condition a certain percentage.
Yeah.
And then then there's still more work to do if it's not 100% gone.
Right. Let's throw out a few. I'm going to ask you about a few examples. What about cancer? Does it matter if it's where it's located in the body, or is there just a generality of cancer? Let's talk about that.
Okay, so cancer so the spiritual root cause is anger, a whole bunch of negative emotions, but especially anger, hatred, resentment, guilt, and frustration, and a lot of toxicity. So cancer is usually like I would say the last message that the universe or your higher self or angels send to us, because so much has built up over the years.
Yeah.
We may have been dealing with other things, over the years, but maybe not have gotten to the root cause of it. So we still have the same beliefs, or we're still getting maybe in fights or arguments with the same people, or having whatever traumatic, issues and situations. Yeah. And we all have different thresholds. So once we hit the threshold, once all of that accumulates and builds up over time, it comes out physically.
Yes.
And then it creates the cancer. And so your question was where, does the location, is that a message as well? And the answer is yes. So, for example, if you have, let's say, throat cancer, it has to do with communication. There's probably a relationship where they're arguing and fighting all the time, and it's so toxic, and like they're yelling and screaming and cussing, or you know what I mean? Or they're not, maybe they're holding so much in, so they're not expressing themselves. and it's just all building up and accumulating in the body, especially the throat, and
Yeah.
clogging up, blocking the throat chakra.
Mhm.
Or if it's like colon cancer, the colon is, that's where we excrete waste and toxins. So
Mhm.
it means that there's so much toxicity that's, a lot of men, I feel like, get colon cancer because
Mhm.
men hold in so many emotions, right?
So true.
It's just natural how they grow, how they're raised, and to be
Mhm.
strong and, you know, get over things fast or not
Yeah.
express their emotions.
Yeah.
And they don't want to, be too emotional or, whatever. So I feel like that negative energy and emotions and feelings that accumulates and they can't get it out
Mhm.
of their body because they're not expressing it or talking about it with people,
Yeah.
unless they have a therapist, which is great, or maybe some good female friends.
Yes. Yes. Okay. What about skin cancer?
The skin like protects us
Mhm.
from from a
Elements.
lot.
Yeah.
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 And so before skin cancer, I would say maybe some signs would be eczema, psoriasis.
Mm.
Like, I remember I got bug bites. I think I even told you about it.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
oh, because I asked you about fleas and all that
Mm.
stuff. And what's interesting is there weren't any fleas, there weren't any bugs.
Right.
I literally manifested it because there were all these people that were annoying me and getting under my skin and you know what I mean, irritating me, like
Yeah.
bites. And then once I think once I realized that, I thought about the few people that were kind of annoying me, what was annoying me, how I could undo that, look at things from a different perspective,
Mhm.
practice gratitude. There's all these things that you can do to reverse it and undo
Mm.
it to the point, or communicate with them.
Yeah.
A lot of times I hold stuff in as well from my upbringing because my mom shut me up when I was younger. So now that I've learned to communicate, I think I did actually talk to a couple of them just to explain my situation and where I'm coming from and what was
Mhm.
bothering me, and how I explained how I was able to connect what was bothering me to things that happened in the past from my
Mm.
childhood, or patterns, right? And I
Mhm.
explained the patterns and why something bothered me related to them, but not in a mean, I wasn't accusing them or faulting them for anything. I was just explaining how something triggered me. And then we resolved it. We figured out what to not do moving forward, or what to do differently moving forward. And then the bites went away like the next day.
Isn't that just amazing?
The next day it's like they looked like they dried up or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were just, and then they were
Yeah.
gone within probably like 24 hours.
Wow. That's incredible.
And same with eczema. So anyway, skin cancer is probably, they're so annoyed and irritated and frustrated and with so many things over years and years and years, and they're not able to undo any of it because they don't know how.
That's interesting because the liver holds the emotion and emits the emotion frustration. And when we have skin issues, a lot of times it really is pointing to a liver dysfunction, a liver insufficiency, like stagnation, or it's not healthy. It needs supported. It needs cleansed. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
not able to really do its job. So all the toxins that it's supposed to be filtering out end up coming to the skin, and people get the rashes, they get the boils, they get the fatty deposits, probably eczema issues or whatever kind of skin issues. But I find it I find it so interesting. And it makes me wonder, like, to go back and look at different organs of the body and the emotions that they store and emit and connect that to those chronic illnesses or diseases. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I think you are spot on with the whole men thing, holding things in. And you're right, that and prostate cancer, which is
Exactly.
located in the colon or near the colon. So it's kind of in that same area, right? So
Mhm.
probably very similar ties or connections.
I think so. And also, it's a very obviously one of the masculine, that and the penis, right, are the most
Yeah.
masculine. So
Yeah.
they might have too much, I don't want to say testosterone, but you know how some men are just so,
Ego.
yeah, or um, you know what I mean? Like they're just all man,
They haven't tapped into their feminine energy.
Exactly. There's
It's
a
all masculine. There's an imbalance there.
total imbalance.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that makes sense.
it's the same with like uterine cancer or
Mm.
ovarian cancer. A lot of times those women maybe are not supposed to have kids. I've noticed
Mm.
that with some of my clients. I've noticed they have issues sometimes with their moms,
Mm.
um, or there's some femininity issue, like they're not respected or as a woman, or there's something
They feel insufficient maybe, or
maybe.
lack of worthiness as a woman or significance or some, like
Yeah.
they can't bear children, so therefore they feel less than,
Yeah.
or or if they have had children, for example, and they develop this, is it the grief of not having their child anymore? Is it, could that, what do
Yes.
you see?
Sometimes when women miscarry, they have miscarriages, that sometimes comes out externally in that area, like you said.
Yeah.
And then what was I going to say? Oh, postpartum depression. Some women,
Mhm.
it might be harder for them to deal with,
The loss.
raising kids. Yeah,
Okay.
a loss, or if they had kids
Mm.
or have them, they might struggle with. Some of them are like, God, maybe I shouldn't have had kids, or
Like regret, like
yeah,
regretting. Yeah. Interesting. What about, well, I've even heard like breast cancer can be related to women who has something to do with nurturing.
yeah. So I had, till this day, I don't know if it was. So I had a lump, kind of in
Mhm.
between my armpit and my boob, and it's like I didn't know if it was some benign little thing, or maybe just like a cyst,
Mhm.
underneath,
Mhm.
or
Yep.
cancer. But I treated it like cancer.
Yeah.
In my head, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna undo all my emotional, mental stuff as if it were cancer. So what I did, okay, so that has to do, like breast cancer has to do with, like you said, nurturing and being
Mhm. Mhm.
maternal, compassionate, understanding, tolerant, patient, loving, sweet, kind, all the female,
Mothering.
yes,
Yes. Yes.
which I chose not to have kids in this lifetime, like
Right.
you know,
Like me. Yeah.
yeah. And
Yep.
not that I don't like kids, right? I love my friends' kids, and not, anyways, that's a different story. But so what I realized though is I've been more like a guy. So even though I'm a straight female, I have a lot of male tendencies. Like I was a tomboy when I was little. I hated pink. I had all friends that were boys. You know, I played sports. I love watching sports. I think like a man. But I've been boy crazy since I was 5.
Yeah.
And I still am. So anyways, but I didn't have that maternal nurturing instinct. I take that back. I take that back. I have it with animals.
Yes, I get that.
Right?
Yeah.
So, oh my God, I can nurture them all day, 24/7. But I realized the connection was with my mom. Because she had a health issue, a physical issue, basically her hips. And I realized, and she has abandonment issues and neglect issues. So she never received love and affection, and her parents were never around.
Yeah.
And through her hip issue, I healed it a few years ago, but then it came back maybe 2 years after that. And I kept doing everything, working with her, doing everything I could to help heal it, but it wouldn't go away, which I didn't understand. So I'm like, oh, we didn't get to the mental and emotional stuff. So, and this Akashic record lady said that I wasn't supposed to heal her hip again because there were a lot of things that we were supposed to go through as a family, her, my dad, and me together, with her hurt hip. And so basically I was supposed to nurture her and be maternal towards her and do what she didn't do for me, which so I had to dig deep and really consciously make an effort, because we had a horrible relationship growing up. Like I hated her. So I had to, but she's changed a lot. So I had to be nurturing, do things for her, help her, ask her, just do things without her asking me, and just be understanding and kind to her, and not react how I used to react. And then my dad, same thing, because my mom used to do everything. She was a control freak. So my dad had to do all the things that she used to do. So he had to clean, do laundry, cook, all that stuff. Because her hip, she couldn't stand up and do all of that.
I see.
She had to learn to receive love. She was neglected and abandoned when she was younger. So the 3 of us had to do all this stuff, and now she's fine. She can walk. She could totally walk fine. I did energy healing for her because the energy was still in her. So, but after we connected all those dots and did everything, it took some time, probably a few months, right?
Yeah.
But then with the energy healing, it just went away within a week.
Wow.
And she got surgery, and she never had any pain. Because I did energy healing for her before and right after. And she never had to take one pain med, one pill, nothing. So that was kind of cool.
That's so cool. I mean, I can think of a specific time, it was a couple years ago. Was it a couple years ago? Yeah, it was. It was a couple years ago. I finally figured it out. I had developed back pain, like out of the blue, severe back pain, lower back, in March of 2021 when I was still in my other job. And it got progressively worse and worse and worse as the months went on, to the point it was really debilitating. And I couldn't do a lot of the same physical stuff anymore because I was always having to be cautious, because if I moved a certain way or did a certain exercise, it would just put me out, right? I mean, I bought a new mattress. I was thinking all these, external things. I went to the acupuncturist, and it would only work for a day, which is very frustrating. And then I, would go to the chiropractor on it every week, and it would work for a very short time, but the problem never resolved. And it wasn't until I got my mind, body, spirit release certification that it occurred to me that maybe I was holding on to some negative emotions. And I had to sit with that. And I talked to a friend of mine who also did Reiki, and she gave me some ideas, and I'm like, because she said, well, the two strongest emotions are fear and like love, right? And the negative was like fear and anger. And I thought, I don't think I'm afraid of anything, but I have to sit with the anger part, because all of a sudden all the memories started coming back. like, oh wow. I remember in March of 2021 when I got really angry with a situation that did not resolve to my liking, and I did not feel supported, and I did not feel heard, and I was just angry.
Yeah.
And it got worse and worse and worse, right? So when I was sitting with that, all of the emotions that I thought I had let go of started to flood my mind. Like I could see the words popping up, and I could see the situation replaying again in my head. So and this was like at night. This is like I'm laying in bed thinking, and I thought to myself, I need to do an MBSR session on me tomorrow and see if I can clear some of these things. And whatever cleared, holy cow, the stuff that came up, the limiting beliefs, all the emotional blocks, I was like, the people that were involved in all that, I was shocked that I was still holding on to all that, because I thought I had let it go. Apparently not. Apparently not.
Well, you did, but sometimes they get stored.
They get stored. Yeah. So it didn't completely resolve, So I did the session, and I kid you not, the pain left like within 12 hours. It was gone. And I remember just sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, I wasted all that time. Like I've been suffering all this time, and it was all just stored emotional stuff that was in my lower back, because you could think things like your lower back is what supports your core and your body, right? I didn't feel supported. I didn't feel heard. I was angry. It all went from my head, and I pushed it down into my deep, deep, deep inside. And your lower back is where it supports all of your torso.
Yep.
And so I just found that to be very like jaw dropping for me.
Yeah. Right? When you connect everything, it's kind of mind blowing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, and the that lump or whatever went away.
Yeah. Of course it did.
Yeah. But I had to tell myself, I would say affirmations too. So I'd be like, I am nurturing and maternal and loving and sweet. And
yes.
Kind and patient and compassionate. I mean, I am normally I am, but with my mom, that's hard,
Mm-hmm. Well, it's easier with some people than others, right?
Yeah.
That's normal.
Yeah. I feel like with most people I am, but family can be different.
Yes, absolutely. Now I'm going to throw one at you, because I really want to know what your thoughts are. What about like immune system issues?
Oh yeah.
Like allergies, things like that. Talk to me about that. What can that signify? Because a lot of people struggle with that, including me.
There are a couple things. So, okay. So autoimmune is you are basically blaming yourself for stuff that's not your fault. So people a lot of times will think it's their fault or their responsibility, and there's guilt, and they feel bad. They just feel bad because they're blaming themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be, who knows? Everyone's different what they're blaming themselves for.
Right.
But it's something that has probably happened for years and years, maybe with different people, pattern. It's a pattern.
Or
But
it started in childhood because you were in a family that
yeah,
a lot of dysfunction and the child thinks it's their fault. I think that happens a lot, right?
exactly.
They blame themselves that their parents get divorced, or they blame themselves
Yeah.
that their mom left, or, whatever it is.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so that's usually what the autoimmune is. And then people just have to, figure out what they're blaming themselves for, what they think is their fault, and
Mm-hmm.
then change it, and forgive themselves and know it's not their fault, and, blah, blah, blah. And then the other theory is past lives.
Mm-hmm.
So I have because I used to get allergies too, every spring, and then it was twice a year, I think in the winter or something.
Probably the
And
fall.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I would sneeze and my nose would run, and I'd be like itchy, and all, my eyes would get red, and I have to put drops in
Yes.
my, right?
Yes.
So,
Horrible.
okay, you could try this. So I'm pretty sure I was a farm animal in a past life, which is why I'm vegan, because I went through what those animals go through at the slaughterhouses, and in the filth and the torture and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, at those places where they raise
The feedlots,
animals,
the confined animal feeding operations.
yes, so they probably get hay, which is mixed with feces and urine, and, and it smells like ammonia, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes.
And but anyways, the hay and grass and stuff, or wherever they raise these animals, um I don't know, I think something, your body, I heard, remembers things in different lifetimes. So your mind might not remember, but for whatever reason your body can carry memories.
Well, it's passed down genetically through our cellular DNA.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's reacting to things as if you're still in that other lifetime. You know what I mean? It's just,
because you were exposed previously.
yes. And
Okay.
so what you can do is this is what I did, and so far it's worked. Because I have a bunny rabbit, so I have to feed him hay and grass every day. So he's supposed to have it 24/7 in his bowl. And so I used to sneeze and sneeze. I'm like, oh my God. So basically what I did is I said, okay, body, we're in a different lifetime. We are safe in this lifetime from hay and grass and pollen or whatever. Hay, grass, and pollen do not hurt us. We are safe and protected. We're in a different lifetime. And I would just kind of keep repeating that. And this was in the middle of like snot dripping out of my nose, and and cleaning Peanut's litter box. Oh, that was another thing. All of a sudden I started being allergic to his litter box after years, though, of cleaning his litter box. I'm like, that's weird. But again, the thing was my body remembering the ammonia, or the smells, because when I do energy healing for animals, sometimes their urine smells like ammonia. It's like really strong. And that's what his pee was smelling like at this one point when I was allergic to it.
Yeah.
So again, I'm like, we're in a different lifetime. It's clean here. There's no poop, feces, urine. It's hygienic, clean, we're safe, protected, blah, blah, blah. And then my nose stopped running. And then it might have, maybe the next time I got his hay and was doing his litter box, it might have been a little allergic, but I did it again and then gone.
Wow. So you tied it back to you being in a previous life as a farm animal of some kind.
Yes. And everyone's different. So someone could have been a slave, in the fields, picking cotton or whatever, or some horrific situation, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was just not good. And so you associate that subconsciously.
Yeah. Do you think that works for animals too? Like the cellular memory, if they were allergic to something in a past life,
I think
do
it's
they
possible.
bring that forward into this life and they have the
Yes.
same type of physical ailments or issues?
Yes, I think they can, or they might be reflecting something back at their human parent.
Hmm.
But it really can be something that they need to reconcile with, or because they're learning their own lessons at the
Hmm.
same time helping us with ours.
Yeah.
So it's just takes some reflection and a little analyzation. But it's
Hmm.
definitely possible some of their issues might be from a past life
Interesting.
that maybe we need to help them with in this lifetime, because we pick each other before we incarnate,
Hmm.
help learn, they go through different certain experiences together, and learn from
Yes.
each other.
Yes, that's true. And a lot of times we've shared past lives together, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Not always, but in
Right.
many cases we have for sure. So, are there other examples that you can share? And I want to tie in the whole animals and pet parents at some point, but I don't want to miss out any other examples that you might want to share about just illnesses or diseases that the human people have and what it can signify.
Yes. So do you have one off the top of your head? I can pick one.
Um, what about like asthma or pneumonia, things like that?
Oh, that's good. Like asthma is usually related to childhood, where they probably had a parent that was very what not smothering in a loving way, but like over.
Helicopter? A
Yes,
helicopter. Just
yes.
okay.
Suffocating, overwhelming, always
Hmm.
harping on them, always
Hmm.
yelling or reprimanding them for something, or blaming them for stuff, and like it's like they can't do anything right. And then
Mm,
it's almost like they can't breathe because this parent is like, you know,
yes.
always on them,
Hmm.
literally probably on, like they're sitting on their chest all the time. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
they can't breathe, they can't catch a breath, they can't. There's no freedom, and
Yes,
that's what I think it is,
that's
based
interesting.
on based on some of my clients.
Yeah.
And it may not be a parent, but it's
Hmm.
something where they're just they just can't breathe,
Hmm.
or because someone's always on them, or hovering, like you said, like a helicopter
Yeah.
parent.
They call them helicopter parents. Pet parents can be like that too. Like they worry about every single thing, and they don't. It's not that they. I don't think they trust. They don't have a lot of trust, so they're constantly worrying about this and that, and they monitor every single thing that their pet does throughout the day. And if something is a little bit off, they go overboard. And they over worry, and they worry themselves sick, I think, a lot of times, because they're
Yeah.
so just like hovering and controlling every single aspect of their meals and the time, and just everything is so structured, and it has to be done a certain way at a certain time. It has to be a certain thing or a certain food or whatever it is.
Yes. That, I think it's similar with hyperthyroidism as
Mm,
well,
okay.
because I noticed some of the pets in the past that had hyperthyroidism, their human parents were smothering, but maybe in a loving way.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, that, like this one dog was never without the human mom,
Hmm.
and everywhere, I'm talking 24/7.
Oh wow.
And for some, maybe some dogs like that, you know, But I
Mhm.
feel like everyone needs maybe a little space.
Absolutely.
And I noticed too, these people, they talk a lot. The hyperthyroidism pets, the human parents talk and talk and talk and don't listen and they, what do you call it? They just, I don't even know, but I noticed they go on and they're either complaining about something or explaining something, or it's just constant, right? And even for me, it's too much. I can feel it even just through the phone.
Yeah.
And sometimes it makes me feel like I can't breathe. But so sometimes if they have hyperthyroidism, the animal might cough a lot. So I did have this one pet, this dog kept coughing all the time for months. And it could be the parents' communication issues.
Yeah.
And
throat chakra.
yes, exactly. So, but communication sometimes, so I learned people define communicating differently. So communication encompasses a lot. It's not just communicating without you communicating things to people, but it's how you communicate it. Some people are yelling and cussing and screaming, but they're communicating.
Yeah.
It's like how well what you say is being received. It's listening, because that's an active part of communicating.
That's true.
It's expressing emotions and feelings. It's asking for what you need and want. It's not, obviously, it's not holding things in. I remember one lady, she was like, "Oh, I'm a great communicator." This is with the dog with the hyperthyroidism issues. And she's like, "I communicate really well. I speak my mind. I tell people what I think, da, 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 da." And I'm like, okay. So we kept talking, and it turned out she had issues with her husband, with friends. Like she lost all of her friends, and her husband didn't want to talk to her about certain things. And I'm like, those are communication issues. But she didn't see that as an issue.
It was probably how she was communicating her truth, not you know what I'm saying? Like maybe in a way that was not kind, or that was not received well, or the mannerism of the message being the tone, for example,
Or the topic.
the topic.
There are things that these
being
people
really dogmatic about certain things and very shut down about not being open about certain things or things like that.
Yes. So we did not end up working together, or we did for a little bit, and then I knew I couldn't help her because she didn't want to listen or see things from a different perspective, or take any accountability, or think that anything
Was her
she didn't think there was anything that she could have done differently. So I we can't help everyone.
Right.
But I felt really bad for her dog.
I know. What about something like brain issues? Maybe someone who has a brain tumor or has seizure disorder, things like that.
There's a lot of things that, oh man, the brain, that's a good question. I feel like there are a lot of different things that could be the root cause depending on what is happening. Like you said, if it's a tumor or an entanglement, or having to do with the blood vessels or whatever, or migraines, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Chronic migraines. But I feel like the brain, there's a lot that those people, I think, don't want to think about. A lot of stuff from the past whether they know it or not. Some
Right.
people will block it out, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They just naturally forget stuff and don't remember things from their past. But there are other people who consciously don't want to remember things or think about things. But then those things, there are so many over the years, or they were so bad in the past that the brain is like on overload, or it's trying to repress too much, maybe. And it's building up and building up, and then it has to come out.
Yeah.
Or there's stuff that they don't want to acknowledge, maybe information they don't want to, something they don't want to look at or receive, they don't, some type of knowledge, wisdom that they're just
Blocked.
not having.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. The brain is just so it's in control, it's like our control center. So it could also maybe be control issues, like, or lack, I should say lack of control, which I guess is a control issue.
Yeah.
But if they're maybe feeling like they're completely, like, have no say in something, or everything's out of their hands, or they can't do anything about a certain, all these situations, and complete lack of control, I feel like that could affect the brain too.
Well, that makes me think of issues like bipolarism, or mental disorders, depression, things like that people take medication for, that affects their ability to think or to have clarity. Does that make sense? So
yes, exactly, because the doctors are treating it with chemicals, basically.
Yeah.
To
try to balance.
Will subdue. Basically numb them. Numb their brain, so they don't have to. So they're not so anxious and stressed out or depressed, and don't have to think too much. But that just elongates the healing process and doesn't heal them at all.
True.
So I noticed they just have a lot of blockages that need to be cleared and fleshed out, and then and work with professionals who understand them and maybe have been through it. Maybe they were bipolar or autistic, or I actually think autistic people are brilliant. They're brilliant. They have so many gifts and talents and divine wisdom, and that they astral travel and remote view and lucid dream and all the things I want to do. But doctors and not spiritual people see it as, they diagnose it as a problem because they don't understand the spiritual side of things.
Yeah.
So while I think they're divinely gifted, other people are like, oh my gosh, he's hallucinating, or he's not here. Looks comatose, but really they're in another realm, in another dimension or whatever, with other beings, which is what I want to do.
That's funny. But no, that's true. Now, there can be physical issues contributing to that, like heavy metals and chemicals and, toxicity and things like that, that kind of set the brain up to be in that particular state. But there's always a spiritual connection,
Yeah. So there are sometimes multiple root causes, spiritually, physically, like you said, like toxins and what we're putting into our bodies.
Right.
Or an action, like if someone broke their leg, obviously if they fell off their bicycle, that was a root cause, but that's not the emotional root cause.
Right.
So like oh yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish that up.
Oh no, it was a whole nother thing about knees, but we don't have to go into knees.
Okay. No, I was going to say before we run out of time, we have about 5 minutes left. I wanted to talk just, can we tie in the pets?
Yes. So pets, there's a theory that I believe in about mirroring. You know, they mirror their human parents, or they reflect things back at them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're little earth angels, you know, our little fur babies, and they're here to help us heal. They're here to teach us things and, you know, learn lessons with us.
Yes.
And so when they have certain diseases or symptoms, it's like they're trying to tell their parents through their bodies what's wrong, because we can't, well, animal communicators can talk to them, but most of us can't hear them in English, you know?
Right.
So pets and I think the universe and spirit guides and angels communicate with us through our bodies, because we can't hear English. We can't talk to them. So they're showing us things to get us to change things in our lives, to help us heal our own bodies and our fur babies, and to make healthy changes in our lives, to basically just be better people.
And sometimes that can be behavioral things, right?
Yes.
It doesn't have to necessarily be a physical ailment. It can be.
Correct. Yeah. So if they are acting out, maybe they're angry or, you know, yeah. I mean, there are so many different ways animals can act or act out.
Or patterns, like cycles, like they keep doing the same thing. You might try to address something, but it keeps happening over and over and over again.
Yes.
What does that mean?
So then the human parent probably has something going on in their lives that they're doing over and over and over, or they're not getting out of a certain situation, or something keeps happening over and over with different people, or in a job, or at different companies, or with family members or friends, or whatever. But there's something, if the animal, especially if energy healing, like if you and I can't get rid of something energetically, or 100%, maybe I should say 100%,
right?
Then there's work that they need to do, that the animal is trying to tell their parent, or mirror something back at them, you know? I don't know if there's any specific, like kidney or liver diseases or issues.
Well, like bladder infections are pretty common for a lot of cats.
Yes.
Bladder
Bladder
is tied to the water element, which stores fear, among lots of different other emotions, but that's one of them, you know.
Yes, anything having to do with like urinating, like the bladder, the urethra, if they have a UTI or kidney issues, all of that is trying to flush toxins out of the body, which usually means there's probably something toxic in their parents' life.
Yes.
That they need to get out of, or distance themselves from, or communicate to change that toxicity, or figure something out to extinguish that toxic stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
It's an energy. It's basically an energy that is manifesting, presenting problems in a certain area of the body.
Right. Yeah. And it's hard, like, the good thing though is if we know how to interpret the messages and the illnesses and the physical conditions or pain or diseases or whatever, then we know how to undo it. So I hope to empower people, pet parents, because they can take control back and help to not only heal themselves, but also their fur babies.
Yes.
Everyone wins. So,
Absolutely.
so we get sick just like they get sick.
Exactly. And before we wrap up, do you have like a special recommendation where people can go look to like maybe research their own disease or their own illness? Where
Yes.
can they find more information about that if they
So
want to explore?
the first person that I discovered was Louise Hay.
Oh yeah.
So she passed away, but she's amazing. She does all those affirmations, right? But she has a
Mhm.
book. There's a book called something like "You Can Heal Yourself" or something about healing yourself.
Yes.
And there's like a like a glossary, not a glossary, like a
Like
she
a
looked,
chart where she
yeah,
categorized everything. Okay.
yeah, it could be like legs, arms, diabetes,
Oh,
pancreatitis,
interesting. Yeah.
whatever, and then it says it might have a little thing about what might be causing it, spiritually or emotionally, mentally.
Oh, that's so interesting.
So
That's
that was the stuff that was popping into my head when I was doing energy healing at first, and then I discovered her, and I'm like, oh my god, it's a real thing.
That's amazing. Well, this has been just a fascinating subject, and I hope the people that are going to watch this video, whether you're here live or whether you're hearing this on a replay, give you something to go think about and something to chew on, get something to explore and see if you feel like something is being mirrored to you by your pets. Um, and, if you're interested in energy healing work, of course, Deanna is an amazing Reiki healer, and she works with us here at Perfectly Holistic. And of course, you can always reach out to us for, questions and things like that. We're happy to help. And maybe,
Oh,
yeah, go.
I do have formulas for different conditions. So like cancer, kidney
Oh, nice.
disease, sciatica or osteoarthritis, hyperthyroidism. And then I have to follow, it's like a recipe. So instead of cooking food, it's to heal a certain physical issue
Oh, I love that.
or mental
Yeah.
emotion.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. But,
Okay, well, I hope people reach out to you and have lots of good questions and book some sessions because it's fascinating. So I guess that's it. We are out of time, but I am so grateful for you being here tonight and for sharing this amazing information. For all of you guys watching here, thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to share this information with your friends and your other, people that who have pets, because we're just here to help share information and empower these amazing pet parents. So thank you, Deanna. And until next time, we will see all of you next month. So thank you again. Have a great evening, everyone.
bye. Thanks.